spiritual baddies, entrepreneurs, and everyone in between.
You're listening to the Embodiment Podcast, where we dig into who you are behind closed doors.
And even if you aren't an entrepreneur or on your spiritual journey, but you're looking for something to listen to while you're on the treadmill,
or on the road, or just looking for some new knowledge to gain, welcome.
I'm your co-host, Ashley Fry.
And I'm Mano Series.
Okay, something I feel like is due for us to talk about and is also something really important, especially nowadays in the age of social media, in the age of there being trends, there's always been trends, but nowadays they switch so fast. I feel like people go through identity crises because of it.
Me and my 45 personalities.
But let's talk about being yourself and being authentic. Could be a very broad topic.
I could go on 50 mind rivers right now.
Yeah. It could be, but it could be a very, very broad topic.
Yeah.
But I think it also goes hand in hand with the word embodiment and who you are behind closed doors. Not the word, the title of our podcast, right?
The meaning behind our podcast.
But yeah, so let's just that was absurdly loud and obnoxious. Why?
My water bottle is just really big and it makes a lot of noise. I should put it on the floor too. It's probably obstructing the view. Okay,
a second while Mano has a moment. So extra. You're being authentically you. That's all that matters.
I'm being myself.
So let's talk about someone who is being authentic and what they embody. Let's tie that in. So if someone's being authentic, what would you say is like a key indicator that somebody's being authentic?
Their energy. 100% their energy. I feel like when someone is truly authentic, I mean, I guess I'm talking more authentic to another person. Like, say they're having a discussion and you're seeing if someone's authentic. Like, the way they're...
So you're talking about, like, judging if someone's being authentic.
Judging if someone's being authentic. The way I look at it is if I talk to someone and I immediately get off vibes from them and I feel like they're putting on some sort of act, that's when I'm like, okay, they're not being really authentic. Or they're not being their true self. They're trying to hide something.
What do you feel when you feel off vibes? Like off-putting vibes from someone?
I feel like I don't want to be around them. Like, well, because the thing is with people who are off-putting, it's like you're sitting there, you're looking at them, and you feel like there's something off, and you're like, I don't know what it is, but this person is not trustworthy in some way. And I feel like that speaks to their authenticity. Because when I meet someone who's authentic, I immediately look at them and I'm like, okay, they're being authentic. I know I trust them. I know they're being their true self. They're not putting on an act for me.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like, it's easy to tell, especially when you're spiritual and you know a lot of, and when you meet people, you can tell that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It makes it easy to read people and be like, hey, wait, you're being...
And being spiritual doesn't mean you can just meet someone and know that. It means that you pay attention
to those things. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, how would you describe
I was going to say, what characteristics, like, obviously it's a broad topic, but what characteristics do you think are easily identifiable in someone who's being authentic?
They're more open. They don't cross their arms as much. When someone is trying to hide something, body language... So I love this because I catch myself. Oh my god, not my multiple personalities coming out. Your authentic self.
I'll catch myself sometimes doing it just for comfort.
Yeah,
and then I do the bird's eye view of myself, and I'm like, what am I doing? Why are my arms I enjoy being here right now. Why are my arms crossed? So that's that is a very important point, but I also catch myself doing that not for the reason of not wanting to be there or for lying, just for comfort. Mm-hmm.
I do it, no, and I do it too sometimes. For comfort, sometimes I'll cross my arms or because it's almost like hugging yourself.
Like,
Sorry, it's almost as
it's okay.
it's almost as
sorry.
it's almost as if you're hugging yourself.
Yeah.
That's why it's like
Yes. Yeah.
but
It also contributes to my bad posture.
yeah, because you're like slouching at
Yeah.
like
It is a comfort thing though sometimes.
exactly because again, it's you're hugging yourself, but over 90% of communication is nonverbal.
It's body language.
It's body language. So whenever I'm talking to someone, especially since I read a lot of books on managing people and like understanding how people react, you just look at someone's body language and you can tell that something's off. Like if they are doing this when I'm talking to them, I'm immediately like, okay, they're trying to close off something. They don't want me to pry too much into what they're doing. The way
Or they're thinking about what you're saying,
Or
and they're countering it in their head.
Yeah.
They won't say
they're
it.
countering in their head, like it's like they're very much opposed to whatever you're saying. So they're sitting there ready to respond. They're closed off to everything you're saying. There's ways where people will, when they're instead of talking to you, if they're not facing you, they'll face away from you. Even the way their toes are pointing. If their toes are pointing away from you, it's because they're closed off to you and they don't want to associate with you.
Yeah.
So they point away from you. But if there's someone's pointing towards you, if they're looking at you and their body is facing you, it means that they're engaged in the conversation.
I think body language in relationships too is so important. If you're feeling confused or if you're feeling uneasy, if you feel like your person is hiding something or whatever, body language, right?
Yeah.
Especially with friends, with anyone. For me, the way that people move around me and the way that people acknowledge me, and same as I am to other people, is so important. I'll catch myself sometimes like zoning out, and I notice because I'm zoning out, I'm not looking at them, or I'm looking at them, but I'm thinking about something else in my head, and so my hands are doing, and I do it sometimes to like regain, like before I was going, I put my hands like this to regain focus, but body language is so important. It's good that you bring that up.
I think because if we're talking about authenticity, the way you tell if someone's truly authentic, like they're not just gonna say, yeah, I'm not authentic. You know, like they're not gonna tell you. So it's just looking for those signals of whenever I meet, like even whenever I meet someone, I look at their body language, and there's even ways like the ways your eyes point. Like if you ask someone a question and they're lying to you, they're going to look up and to the right, I believe. And if they're trying to recall information, they look up to the left.
I look up to the left a lot.
Yeah, so if they recall information, if they're trying to recall information, like my dad even taught me this. He was like, whenever I know if someone's lying, when I ask them a question and they look up to the right, I know immediately they're lying, because you look up to the creative side of your brain to make something up. The logical side is what you look to recall information. So I ask someone a question, and if they look up to the left, I'm like, okay, they're actually trying to think. If they look up to the right, I'm like, you're trying to make something up. Like
unless you're working on like a creative.
Well, yeah, unless you're like working on something creative, obviously. But if you ask them a direct question, like, "Did you have pizza yesterday?" and they're like, "No, I had Philly cheesesteaks." That's a stupid example, but like you know what I mean. So it just depends, because a lot of people,
that's very good to know.
It's also good to conduct, because when you're working with teams too, if you want to know something's getting done, you look at them, you ask them, and if they look up to the right, you're like, they're trying to make up an excuse right now. And then, you're like, if they are trying to make an excuse, then okay, then I need to be more on their ass in the future. I'm not going to tell them, I'm like, I know you're lying.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be like, hey, now I know I need to be more on top of their ass.
Yeah. Okay. So we got body language as a characteristic, being open.
Is it a characteristic? Body language is
not a characteristic, but something I guess you can, when you're trying to
an identifier.
An identifier. What's another one? So we got body language, openness.
Yeah, openness. They're the way.
I was gonna say
how open they are. Like, sorry, their optimism. I was
gonna say passion, which I feel can kind of intertwine with that. If someone, and I'm thinking about what people do when they're authentic, what paths they go down, if they're doing something that they should be doing, or if they're doing it, say, I'm going to use my business for an example, okay? I'm trying to grow it, but I'm not forcibly growing it for money. I do it because I enjoy doing it. Lashes, even this podcast, we do it because we enjoy doing it. We're not pushing it in front of people's faces forcibly to make money.
No, this is a passion project.
Exactly. We're posting what we can. We're posting what we enjoy. We're posting fun stuff that we enjoy. We're talking about topics that we enjoy talking about.
And we're posting it to develop ourselves.
Yes.
Right.
And so when you look at that versus maybe one that is more for money or something that's not as authentically driven, that's an indicator as well. You can see through how people approach things. Again, that kind of goes hand in hand with body language as well. How do people approach things?
Do you know what this is? Wait, is it this or is it?
No, this is thank you. This is fuck you. Yeah.
Body language.
I didn't do that.
Real?
Do you?
No, I was doing this and I had an intrusive thought.
Oh.
One of the personalities was like, do it. Do it.
But yeah. So let's talk about the word authenticity itself.
I also just want to quickly say,
yes.
I also want to quickly say, I was on.
Why was that such an aggressive?
Sorry, I don't know why. I heard and I was like, damn.
He says like 15 times in a row. He says once and smacks himself. I'm bugging you. Stop bugging.
Put hot sauce on the tongue. Hot sauce on the tongue. You know they do that?
Don't do that. Don't do that. Are you telling me to shake a bottle of Tabasco in my mouth?
Yeah.
No.
No, sorry. I'm saying I should do that because I said the filler words. I'm like, yeah. Okay.
I've got a mini. When I was in Nashville, we went to this restaurant. I forget what it's called, but they had the tiniest little bottles of Tabasco ever. And I said, yep, I'm taking it.
You take the whole... I'm like, I'll have your whole stock.
Yeah. I wish.
So...
But what would that do? That wouldn't even be one serving of Tabasco.
Even they'd be cute. They'd be like
yeah.
Those,
like those
little...
little...
at parties.
You know? Yeah, or those little mini... You know how people collect those mini sets of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mini kitchen.
Yeah. The Tabasco would work perfectly in there.
That would have. Sorry, what I was saying was in terms of authenticity, I was actually on a podcast today talking to someone. Ashley's like,
Mano goes on a podcast without telling me. Now, if you are, I'm going to compare this to a relationship.
okay.
If you're in a relationship with someone,
Yeah.
and you go on a date without telling them, you are cheating on them.
I guess I'm a cheater.
Yo, he didn't tell me until after.
I told you right after I got off the call.
Okay, but where was the text saying, hey, I'm hopping on another podcast? It didn't need to be a long paragraph. You didn't need to tell me who it was, but you could have just fucking told me.
No, I should have. I need to work on my communication skills. Mm-hmm. I still need to work on those. But one of the things that he asked on the podcast, he said on the podcast, was he was watching our YouTube channel, and he watched the video of us going to Malik's cafe, and he said, I can tell how authentically you guys are in that video, because just watching that video, I would never have pulled up a camera and filmed myself like that in the middle of the road that everyone could see. So just seeing you guys do that really showed me how authentic you guys are, and that you guys don't care about what anyone else thinks of you. It's just authentically what you guys want to do, and no matter what, you guys are going to do it. And I was like,
that's very sweet.
And it actually matched with whatever we're talking about.
No, that ties into that.
It ties into it because he literally said it comes off in your content that you're authentic.
I love that. I see, that's the thing is everything, because okay, I'm gonna rewind. As soon as I started becoming more conscious of everything that I've been doing, and that I'm gonna say I woke up properly from the bullshit I had tied myself into last year, January, February, whatever, however long it took me to fully start being more conscious of everything. that's a lie. Let's say end of February. Let's say that's when I started becoming more conscious. Everything that I've done, whether it's this podcast, whether it's the business, whether it's my own personal Instagram, I've tried to dedicate everything that I do to being authentically myself and not giving a fuck about what other people think. And so that's when I stopped caring about if I had 4 photo dumps in a row, or if every single one of my photos had the multiple post thing on it, where some people might look at that and be like, okay, well, no, I need to put a filler post. For my personal stuff, for my personal brand, for my personal page, whatever people get to see of me first, I'd rather it just be whatever comes to my mind, whatever. Yeah, and same thing with our page. If we post 4 videos in a row, if we like the content and it's extracted straight from our conversations and they were good conversations that we enjoyed having, why not?
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
I really appreciate that, because that means that by asking you to do this podcast with me, I chose the right person to match my energy with that, and who is just as dedicated and authentically passionate towards doing this.
Yes. What? No, I appreciate that in all seriousness. I appreciate that, and I actually appreciate you coming to me in the first place. And actually, us starting this podcast in literally less than a day.
Yeah.
Not even less than a day, like in 5 hours. Yeah. And getting it up and running and started and doing all the research. And now I think we're actually going through one of those processes again, because we're both starting to watch a lot more videos on podcast growth and
phase 2, baby.
Phase 2. It only took us a year.
That's okay.
But in the grand scheme of things,
it means we weren't forcing it.
We weren't forcing it, and we've been consistent every single week. Even if we've missed a few days within the week, we've posted every week. Yeah. And that's all that matters.
Okay, let's go back to, we talked about characteristics, traits, indicators of authentic people. Let's go back into what authenticity means. What the word authentic means, what it means to be authentic. Do you have a specific way you would word that or describe that?
I'd say when I think of the word authentic, I think of truthfulness. I think of truthfulness towards oneself. So you know who you are as a person, and you're not afraid to show who you truly are to the rest of the world. Authenticity is literally just being truthful about yourself to the world. Yeah. That's the way I look at it, because I think that there's no other way to describe it in the sense where it would give you any other... Like, the only information you need to know is that being truthfully yourself in the public eye is being authentic.
Yeah. I think, now that I'm thinking about it, one way to put it is, if you're being authentic, you don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk.
Yeah. True. So, like, putting actions behind your words.
Yeah. So if you say you value this or you value doing this, you do that. Yeah. Or you implement that into what you're doing.
Well, let's give an example. Developing this podcast, we call...
Let's use a different example. I feel like
Okay.
Talk about the podcast is good, but let's use other stories outside of the podcast. What's one thing in your life where you are authentic, like truly authentic? You can think about it and you say, okay, no, I know I stated this and I know that I followed up with this.
In content, on videos. Yeah. I feel like I used to have this pre-notion where it's like, oh my God, I care what everyone thinks about me. I'm always stressed. What are people going to think? Are they going to like this? Whatever. And I used to be scared of my perception online. And now I'm just like, why don't I just be who I am in my content? I'm not going to suppress anything. I'm just going to make videos in my style and not worry about what everyone else is thinking in terms of, like, about me. Because I don't care. At the end of the day, ain't nobody paying my bills except me. Yeah. So why would you care about. This can sound so rude. Why would you care about other people's opinions, right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm being authentically me, I mean, I'd say in terms of the first thing that comes to my mind is the content wise.
Yeah.
It's like if you look at my content, I don't act different in my content than I do like right now. Like I'm still the same energy, the same style. Like it's not anything different. So I think that's where I kind of relate it to a little bit. What about you?
Yeah. If we're thinking about actions aligning with words and that being authentic, I'm going to give an example that was actually a big thing that I experienced recently. A big event that happened. But I had shared with someone that, and I think this is really important because many people might not hear this and think that's being authentic. But if you're looking at the definition of authenticity and your actions being congruent with your words, beliefs, and values, then it really does. And I told this person, I have to respect my own boundaries. And if this, how do I word this? If I don't feel like my boundaries are being met in this situation, then I'm going to have to move forward without you in my life. And I might have said it in different words, but I always tried to communicate that across in the most straightforward and loving way as possible.
Because you move with loving intentions.
I always do my best to be intentional and do it with love and support and consideration and care. And so as I get older and as we do this podcast and as we learn more about ourselves and learn more about the world and grow, and this is why your 20s is such an important time in your life, because you're figuring all of these things out. You're figuring out how you normally would have reacted to situations when you were 16, 17, 18, 19. And then you actually are conscious of how you're acting and reacting towards situations, because when you're an adult, there's almost more weight to everything. So
yeah,
this was something where it fucking sucked in the moment. But I told myself, okay, no, I have to look at the bigger picture. I have to look at what I've said, how I've communicated it. I have to look at my, not expectations, but requirements when it comes to friends, relationships, everything. And I did that last year in a relationship too. I was in a relationship and some things happened that really put me in a position where I could have been really embarrassed, or I could have been very remorseful, and it was hurtful. And in the moment when you're going through stuff like that, you don't really see it for all that it is until you pull yourself out of it and you're like, fuck.
You see from an eagle-eyed view, like from an outside perspective.
Yeah, and that's why I value, and I will tell everybody, and I've told close people to me this many times before, but if you're in a situation and you have 5 people telling you something is happening the way that it is, and you're trying to
dispel of it.
Dispel of that idea, but also try and make it appear as something else. You really should be listening to those people and take their words into consideration. Even if you're not making a decision based off of that, it should be a time of reflection where you sit back and think that. And so in that relationship last year, I had obviously my close friends' opinions, but I went to work literally day after dealing with this, I want to say 2 weeks of craziness. Like, well, you could call it embarrassing, you could call it insane, you could call it, whatever. But I kept my cool through it. And then I went to work after. And I already had opinions from my friends. But I asked a few of my coworkers who had met the person, who had been in close proximity with him, maybe not for a long time, but for a certain period of time. And I said, hey, this is what no, I didn't even say that. I said, hey, I want to ask your opinion on this before I tell you what happened. What do you think of this person and what do you think of their actions? And that was before I told them what actually had happened on the 2 weeks of craziness. And they told me, they said, well, I can spot a narcissist from a mile away. Or, no, he made everything about himself in this situation. Or, no, he almost speaks about you like you're smaller than him. And so that's again, one of my big values is taking into consideration the people who are close around me, not opinions, but things that they notice. It's not really, I don't look for opinions, but I look for perspective. Yeah. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Perspective, not opinions. And what did I do that night? I made the decision, like, if I don't break up with this person right now, then I'm going to get stuck in this cycle. And if it's meant to be, it'll happen eventually, but I can't tolerate this bullshit. Like,
that's a hard thing to do. Let's not underestimate. That's after you've been in a relationship with someone.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to cut it off because you're so used to being around that person every day.
Well, and it wasn't. But
you're being authentically you by doing that.
That's the thing. It wasn't a long-term relationship. It was newer. But when you're in a newer relationship, you try to be optimistic, right? And you try to think, okay, well, what if it gets better? But if these are the true colors that they're showing you within 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, you kind of got to listen to those signs, right? So those are two situations. The friendship that I had to pull myself out of recently, that was a really big decision, and it was an upsetting decision, and it was really hard. But I knew that based on my values and my beliefs, that if I had undermined myself again and not made that decision, that it would have spiraled into something bigger, hurt them or me even more. And that wasn't something that I felt like either of us deserved. So based on my boundaries, I made that decision. And then the relationship, that was a big one because that was a really big decision that wasn't ignited. In the past, I've had a really hard time with just making big decisions like that and not and taking time with it and thinking about it versus knowing and listening to that intuition and that feeling right away.
Yeah.
And so that was probably one of the first really, really big decisions that I had done the digging for and come to a conclusion really fast for on my own. So yeah, those are two.
That's just got balls though.
Yeah, but
it balls, but authentically you, and also the growth, because you said that you originally didn't have the willpower to make those decisions, but you just did.
Yeah.
So you've grown balls.
I think the more my boobs have gotten bigger. But I think the more that you come to know yourself and the more that you come to set out your values and your beliefs and take action based on those values and beliefs, the more authentically you move through life. And it could be with friendships, it could be with relationships, it could be with your work, it could be with your creative projects, it could be with the community work you do, or with your social media in general, your personal social media. But the more that you set down those beliefs and stay true to them, the more authentic you will present and the more ease that life will kind of give you. Because when you know that you're making a decision or you're doing something intentionally or you're acting in a way that aligns with your beliefs and values, you might have maybe like a few seconds of doubt or something, but then you come back to that, okay, no, because if I went the other way, that wouldn't align with who I am.
That's a good way of looking at it. But it also shows that through that journey that you went through, you still walked with authenticity. And going back to the topic, we're talking about authenticity. And we're talking about,
Yeah.
in your situation specifically, your relationships that you've had to cut off because it wasn't benefiting you.
Yeah.
And being authentically you, you said I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
And even if it was hard to cut those people off, you still were able to do that. So regardless of anything else that happened, it still shows authenticity in your personality and who you are, because you were able to do that knowing that they didn't benefit your future self.
Yeah. Or even them, right? If I were to stay in those
match.
Yeah, if I were to stay in those positions, maybe because I wasn't being authentically myself, I would end up hurting them. And so I'm a very emotional person. I've always prioritized relationships and friendships. And when you start to become more self-assured and realize things, maybe for other people it might not present in their relationships or in their friendships, but for me, as I get older and I start making those bigger decisions, for someone who was nice to everyone and who is accepting of always accepting of everyone, it's harder for me to set down those boundaries and know those boundaries. So for me, the more that I do that, the more authentically I feel like I am coming into myself.
An analogy I like around this is about a rocket. And when you think of how a rocket's launching, a rocket launches with a shitload of propellers. It launches with, it's huge and it's a gigantic explosion. There's towers everywhere. But as a rocket launches and it gets to a certain altitude, it has to drop its propellers in order to get to the next, to space.
Mm-hmm.
If it does not drop those propellers, it will come crashing back down to Earth because it doesn't have enough momentum to go up. So those propellers, and I liken that to relationships, especially with the ones you were talking about. Sometimes you just need to let go of those propellers to get to the next highest stage of your life. So
Detachment,
right? Detachment, authenticity. You are authentically a rocket.
I like that. Aw, that's cute. Let's
meditate.
No, I was gonna say so we've talked about authenticity, we've talked about embodiment a little bit. What other synonyms would you kind of throw in there? Like, what else do you think of when you think of the word authentic?
I mean, other than truthful, I think that obviously authentic means
so
truthful.
Authentic, truthful, embodiment.
No, I don't think that's a word. Conduction, the way you conduct yourself, like just the way you. I guess that could also be truthfulness, because that's kind of the way you conduct yourself too, if you're truthful or not. Because for me, I don't think
Genuine,
but also that's truthful, isn't it? Wouldn't that?
They're synonyms. They're synonyms.
Oh, okay. So you can just. Oh, okay. So then, so genuine, truthful. Honest, caring, and it doesn't necessarily have to be about other people. You can be caring for yourself. That's still being authentically you, right? Because you're caring for your.
Well, and that's how let's move into how to be more authentic. So,
how do you be more authentic? Because I feel like it's something for some people it's just more natural to just not give a shit with anyone. Actually, no. You know what? That is a lie. I think obviously for some people it is easier in some capacity, but it all stems from their experiences.
Yeah, and also we've grown up in a society where it's very hard to tell who's authentic or not because of social media. But we
can tell you edit your photos. You ain't safe. We can tell your Instagram ain't authentically you.
Okay, angry.
I really came for some people there.
You in fact left the Facetune tag on your
that shit post. You could see the wall curving behind you.
No, not even that. No. Okay, so I'm doing social media for a company right now. And someone that they were working with, I went on their socials to see something, and I've never used Facetune. I never have. If I've ever touched anything up for like my business, or even in the past when I used it for myself, which I don't anymore, that was like a maybe grade 8 to grade 10 phase. But I always used Photoshop Fix Like it's a free app on your phone.
Yeah.
But a lot of people use Facetune. A lot of people still use Facetune. And so I went on this person's page, and he had a photo of him with his family. And in the left corner, not even like a little word, it's like the whole left side of the Instagram post, Facetune. It's like, how do you miss that?
And how do you, the way that you post that too?
I mean,
I guess he authentically doesn't care.
I mean, and that could be one part of it. But me, a Gen Z, seeing that, knowing that a lot of people use it to hide stuff or to change and manipulate things so they look a certain way. It's just it counters it when you have the Facetune tag on there. It's just funny.
See, personally, I hate Facetune, and I don't hate it because of what it can obscure your body, whatever, do whatever you want with it. Because sure, if you feel more confident editing your photos, go ahead and do that. But I just don't I've tried to go and play with it because everyone uses it. I don't know how to use it. I don't know. I literally it's also such a scam because every time you click a button, it gives you an ad to purchase. I'm like, no, I'm not paying for this.
Yeah,
I don't like it.
I don't think I've ever downloaded it. Don't quote me on I never downloaded it. There might have been a time where I downloaded it just to see, but I don't remember it. Like, I genuinely don't remember if I ever have or not. But yeah.
I wonder if AI can make a skinny by ad where make me skinnier and it will just make you skinnier in the photo.
I'm sure.
It definitely will exist. Do you see that thing I sent you today? That website?
Be any skinnier though. Yeah.
No, not me.
Okay.
Well, I'm saying like literally going on AI and you'd be like, make me skinnier.
You sent me the video of an AI video generator.
Yeah. Wasn't that crazy?
Yeah.
If it can do that.
I didn't watch the video, but it can take photos of people and make them talking.
Oh yeah. Do you see the video of Justin Trudeau talking about hummus? That was fully AI generated.
Yeah, I know, that was hilarious.
And he was being authentically him.
Oh yeah. Okay. I want to go back to what you were saying before. And it ties into how to be authentic. We'll shoot. Spend time with yourself. And this is so important because if you are living your day-to-day and not spending time with yourself, even if it's half an hour, even if it's 10 minutes before bed, and I am guilty of this right now, except for I've been doing better. Okay, I wrote in my journal today. I did write in my journal today.
Okay. I have not. I need to get on that.
I also woke up at 4:45 in the morning and didn't go back to sleep. But
that was crazy.
I had a gap in there, and I was I felt so inclined to go take a nap, but I said no, sit there and write in your journal. So I did. And anyways,
what do you write in your journal?
Today I wrote because it was the morning and I didn't want to get all emotional. I did my affirmations in my journal because I'm a visual learner, and so when I put pen to paper, especially with affirmations, it transforms my energy so much more, and I'm filling out a whole page, right? And I'm not stopping. I keep going. I'm not writing the same thing over and over again, but I keep going, and then I read it to myself after. And
what journaling techniques have worked the best for you?
What do you mean?
There's affirmations, there's talking about your day.
Okay,
there's
so
some of your dreams
for me personally, when it comes to setting my intention for the day or energy or anything along those lines, I love writing affirmations in my journal. And that could be, and this is just a quote from it, but I always started off with, I am in the timeline of my highest good, my deepest desires, and my ultimate fulfillment. And then I move on, and it could be, I wake up in satisfaction, ready to energize my day. I wake up in satisfaction, ready to energize my good. I love being good. I love having good days. And then another one could be success and successful opportunities find their way to me easily. I'm a magnet for successful opportunities. And this is why I usually put on either meditation music or I put on Tony Jones. in the background, because as I'm writing these things down, I also have Tony Jones, and she is all of her songs. Like some of them are, oh my God, there's one that was stuck in my head this morning is, I am, wait, it's gonna come to me. I am loved, I am balanced, I am healed. No, what's the first one?
I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am rich, I am that bitch.
No, oh my God, what's the first word? No, okay, you know what? I think it is I am healed, I am balanced, I am loved. Oh my God, no. What's the first word?
I wish I could help.
I know, it's okay, it'll come to me. It's at the tip of my brain right now. But that whole song, she's just saying those words. Like she keeps, and she goes, I release, I love. No, I am healed, I am balanced, I am love. I forgive, I release, I love. And the whole song is her saying that. And so I have that in the background, and obviously it takes me probably like 20 minutes to fill out that whole page. Like journaling for me when I'm doing affirmations takes me 20 minutes. Okay.
We should make these as YouTube. By the way, I'm just thinking like all these things that we're talking about in terms of how to start journaling, meditation music. We should do like actually make YouTube videos on this. Like not even like
we should also just do shorter podcast episodes.
yeah,
we talk
like,
about
little
like
that.
writing affirmations. What
But
are
also
going through affirmations?
You go to sleep listening to meditation music.
Yeah,
I do too. So why don't we just make it our own, and then we just make our own meditation music? Like I feel like a lot of people would.
Yeah, I'll pull out my piano. I'm kidding.
I was being like, we are healthy.
We go.
You are wealthy.
We go and buy
You are
singing bowls.
Embodiment.
But,
Yeah.
But yeah. So, going back to journaling, it helps me so much to have her voice in the background, because I have my own affirmations that I say. I try and switch it up, but having those in the background, it gives me ones I can throw in there, but it also keeps me thinking as I'm writing my affirmations. And so it keeps me optimistic, and I can go back and I can use the same affirmations that I wrote in there or came up with in that moment, or I do it again and these new ones keep coming to you, and you keep getting. And it's like a build of energy. And that's why I love writing in my journal, because I feel like when you're in the mirror, sometimes you say the same thing. It becomes a routine. You say the same thing. But when you're writing, that creative part of your brain opens up. And so I'm looking to the right side of my brain. But yeah, so that helps me a lot. I don't know, writing almost in like poem form about situations, not fully in poem form, but along those lines where it's a little bit more like storytelling for me, that benefits me a lot more in getting my emotions out when it comes to journaling. But I really try not to do that in the morning. That is a later in the day or nighttime thing, because if I'm journaling in the morning, I want to be setting my intention
for the day.
Yeah.
And then
setting energy.
Do you do at nighttime? Do you do manifestations? Do you do about your day? Like what? How does that look for you?
Sorry, I got a credit email.
No credit email.
Yeah, I saw Borrowell and I said, it was all good. Don't worry. So if I'm writing at the end of the day, that was your question, right? Sorry, I got distracted by the email.
Yeah.
Okay. See, I lost focus, but I still kind of knew where you were at. I don't know. There's different. You can search up, and this was one of our first episodes, was doing shadow work prompts. It's really good. You can pull out 3 questions and just work on those in one night, and then you can build on that. And I have a journal that's strictly for my highest self. And so on the first page of it, I have I am my highest self written. And then on the pages after, like, I have one page is dedicated to how I communicate. And so I just say I communicate my boundaries. I am genuine with the way that I speak to other people. I tell my friends that I love them. I tell my parents that I love them. Um I speak with loving intentions. So that's a little bit more direct and intentional, whereas the one that I've been writing in recently, I wrote alignment on the front of it because I felt a little bit out of alignment. So that one can be my affirmations, or it can be me writing out my emotions, because if you're writing it out and putting it onto paper, you're kind of realigning yourself. So that's where I was going to write more than alignment, and then I put it on the front of it and I looked at it and I said, nah, that's good. I'm leaving it like that.
Have you ever done fire manifestation?
No.
Like,
I've eaten fire on stage with Tony Robbins. Or no, maybe it wasn't Tony Robbins. I lied. I don't remember who it was. But when I was 8 years old, you can ask my dad this. He brought me to a conference.
Didn't you walk on hot coals? I'm pretty sure you just told me.
No, he has done that, and he's also certified to do glass walks and everything now, like to take people through them. But no, so it might have been, I don't think it was Tony Robbins, but it might have been. And they have like these fire sticks and you light it on fire, and there's a method to it, but basically like I ate fire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, no, what I meant by fire manifestation.
Sorry.
You write your manifestations down on paper, and also that is cool. But you write your manifestation down on paper, and then you
burn it,
and burn it, because then you were letting it into the universe.
Yeah.
I love doing that because it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Like, send your intentions like flying. Also, candle magic. Yeah. Inscribe your intention into a candle.
Well, and it takes it one step further too, right? If I'm writing my affirmations on paper and I'm rereading them, that could be something where you're writing it down, then you're rereading it, and then you're taking it and you're lighting it. So you're doing one more step of intention with it.
I'm pretty sure I sent you a video of me lighting on fire.
Yeah.
And then running across my room with throwing it and the metal thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, let's square back to what we were talking about. So I don't remember how we got to this, but hanging out with yourself. That is
journaling, right? You're hanging out with yourself.
Yeah, and that's very important too, because when you're authentic, you are, again, congruent with your words are congruent with your actions, and your actions are congruent with your words and beliefs. So the more that you hang out with yourself, the more that you will be able to consciously know how you act and react to things. If you're constantly bouncing off of other people's energy and you're not taking that time to spend time with yourself or reflect or do whatever, then you lose that conscious step of knowing what you're doing, because you're constantly stuck in an outside flow rather than your internal flow. That makes sense?
So essentially it's about,
you're stuck in other people's flow versus yourself.
Yeah, being more internal.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be internal with everything, but
just being more internal with yourself, and then when others are involved, it's combining internal and external to make sure it matches you, but it also is giving you another perspective. So you're looking at both.
Because if you don't hang out with yourself, if you don't have a hobby, if you don't take the time to do that, you're gonna go fucking insane eventually.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what you think. Like when I think about not external, when I think about extrovert and introverts, like when people ask me if I'm an extrovert or introvert, I literally think I'm both. Mm-hmm. Because I love being around other people and talking to people, but I also love being alone.
Yeah.
Like I love just sitting alone. Like you know, I have to be in my room alone working, and I don't even care.
I think what can also differentiate that too is social anxiety. You have no social anxiety. So I wouldn't call you an introvert at all. You're very much an extrovert, but everyone can value alone time.
That's actually a new perspective I haven't heard, because when I tell people I'm introvert extrovert, they're always like, oh yeah, that makes sense because you spend time alone.
You are an extrovert, but you take the time to spend with yourself and to work on the things that you want to or need to work on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess that's a good way of describing it.
Yeah.
I think I'm ENTJP or some PJ.
Yeah, I'm F.
Whatever the protagonist thing is. I know all I know is the name of it is protagonist or something.
Yeah,
I'm the main character.
Okay, we talked about being more internal. Be mindful. Being mindful.
Write your own story.
Write your own story. the more mindful you are with what you're doing, the more intentionally it will be. The more intentional it will be. And intention, doing things with intention, doing things because they align with your values, that is authenticity. Okay, so let's reflect. Being mindful, hanging out with yourself, being intentional. I think in order to fully... Have you ever sat down and written out your values or your beliefs?
I have, but it wasn't really for me specifically. It was more so like my company's beliefs or my company's values.
I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to tell you to sit down and write down a list of values and a list of beliefs for yourself.
For myself, just personally internal.
Yeah.
Like, and then how'd that look? So for values, it'd be like what I value as a person and what you
value in yourself. And that could be, you could write down your values for relationships. You could write down your values for work. You could write down your values for your interpersonal, like you towards yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then your beliefs, that could be literally anything.
Okay.
Like when you think of that, what comes to your head first? And when it comes to your head, do you second guess it? Or do you fully 100% go with it?
So do I follow my intuition?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking that, but
Yeah. Okay, I like that. I feel like I definitely do follow my intuition most of the time. If I think something, I mean, you already know I'm very stubborn. So if I think something, I'm always just going to follow my intuition and just go with it. So I definitely think one of my main decision factors is through my intuition. Like if I look back at myself and I say, do I think this is going to benefit the end goal or whatever, right? Whatever my intuition tells me.
Does it benefit the long game?
Does it benefit the long game? And I'm like, if it does, then yeah, I'm going with it. If my intuition tells me do it, I'm like, yep, okay. And that might be my intrusive thoughts kicking in, but you know what? Intrusive thoughts and my intuition are one and the same.
Yeah.
Because I'm delusional. Delusions drive my life.
I love you.
What about you?
Freaking group chat for work is going off right now.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
She's a busy girl, busy social media queen.
Last thing that I think goes so hand in hand with authenticity. I made the episode notes today, if you couldn't tell. But I thought this was a really important thing to talk about in general. And you do it so naturally that being yourself and being authentic that I don't think it would have come to your mind right away. You just do it. Like you are just you, and you've never hidden that down to those fucking bracelets being tied on your wrist that you can't take off. Like you have never, I don't think I've seen that off your wrist in over a year, in the whole year and a bit that I've known you.
Yeah.
And I love that for you.
I was gonna say I love your necklace. I feel like
Noor got it for me.
It's cute. I love you a lot.
Shout out Noor.
Shout out Noor.
Well, you know,
I also think the reason we get along so well is because we both are so authentically ourselves, and we don't care what others think. We just are gonna do whatever is going to be good for our long run. Like if we feel like it's gonna benefit us or we're gonna learn something or grow, we're going to go through it and do it. Mm-hmm. And that also plays into authenticity, just because we're always real with our expectations for ourselves.
Well, and that's why when I first met you, I was so drawn to you, is because you can tell, you can feel it, you can see it, you take leadership, you don't give a fuck what people think. Like, I'll make fun of you sometimes, like jokingly.
Yeah.
But I do that out of love, because I love that you can do that, right?
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, we've also known each other for so long now that knows.
1 year. Woo!
No, literally.
So long.
We have. It's felt like I've known you my whole life, which is the crazy part. Because we've known each other for a year, and when I tell people after they've seen us on the podcast, I tell them we've known each other for a year. We met a year ago, and they're like,
"What the fuck?"
They're like, you haven't known her. You've known her for just a year, and I'm like, yeah. And like, why'd you just start a podcast right after meeting?
Well, and that's the amazing thing about this podcast, because of the topics that we've spoken about and the planning that it takes and all of that, but mainly the topics that we speak about, because we could sit there and plan, we get that done.
Yeah.
But when we come on here and we have these conversations and we get into depth, and sometimes I counter what you're saying or you counter what I'm saying, I've gotten to know you so much better because of these conversations. And we know that other people are going to hear this.
Oh, yeah.
And we know other people are going to listen to these conversations. But that's never stopped us from having these conversations or getting as deep as we might get in these conversations. And before, when I was talking about the friendship or the relationship, those two that I've dealt with in the past year, I'm not going to go and say names.
No, obviously.
But that's also something that I experienced, and I'm not going to not talk about those things, because like I'll talk about them with anyone in person, right? Like I will talk about situations I've been through in person. Why would I hide it on here? So I think the more that we've had these conversations and you've shared things with me and we've countered each other and gone this deep, I think we've really, really gotten to know. I think speaking for a consistent hour
every week,
you really get to know somebody, because you can hang out with someone and sit on your phone or whatever, but when you're having conversations dedicated to topics, you learn that person's values and beliefs through the conversations that you have, or you learn how adaptable a person can be through those conversations as well.
And you still see how open they are. And it goes back to our values.
Mm-hmm.
When we first established the podcast, we came up with values, and two of them were being genuine and authentic on our podcast, on every episode. And I think that we've done that up to this point.
I think that also, wow, that's an amazing point that you bring up. And excuse me, not to bypass the fact that we just posted consistently and are only now starting to post content for ourselves or whatever, but the fact that we sat down and wrote out a list of values instead of writing a list of end goals shows a lot about how authentic these conversations are and how authentic our intentions are with these conversations.
Yeah. And I remember that distinctly, that we literally came up with a list of values that we wanted to follow, and two of the most important ones that actually relate to this episode are the authenticity and being genuine. Yeah. Because we said we want to be open books, right? Yeah. Who you are behind closed doors, it's in the name, right? It's literally being authentic, uncovering, opening the door, and looking behind the door and seeing who we actually are as people. And now people know, because we're not putting on an act.
Yeah.
After the cameras go off, I don't just like get up and walk out Ashes and be like, okay, see you next week.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I'm just like.
Okay, so authenticity, we've talked about 4 things. I want to throw a 5th one on there, but to close this out, I'm going to go over the 4 that we talked about. So 5 things. Okay, ready? 1, be mindful. 2, hang out with yourself. 3, do things with intention. 4, write down your values and beliefs. They might change over time, but write them out, whether it's once a year, whether it's once every 6 months, whether it's you go back and you read them for yourself. Write them out. And then number 5 is take risks for yourself and be original. And not be original that you need to be this whole new thing that no one's ever seen before, but do the things that feel right to you, and that is originality in yourself. And take risks. If you're scared to start that podcast,
expand your comfort zone.
Yeah, if you're scared to start that podcast, if you're scared to put your music out there, if you're scared to make that post on Instagram, just do it.
Or make videos if you're scared to create content.
What's the worst thing someone can do?
Unlike it, comment about something like rude.
Yeah. Like last week, Mano or someone commented on our video asking if Mano was speaking in autism. Like, at first I saw that and I was like, should we delete it? Should we delete it? Man, I was like, no, engagement, whatever. Like, and sorry.
I like it, leave a heart.
Like, So what?
And the funny thing is they never responded to that.
And also, what kind of fucking, and I know people use this as like hate speech or like try to use it in a derogatory way, but if somebody really came at me using the term autism in an offensive way, I would be like, why, thank you. You must think I'm intelligent.
Yeah, because autistic people are very intelligent, like literally.
And that's coming from someone who has someone with highly functioning autism in their family, right?
So you have a direct experience with that. But it also just shows when someone tries so hard to leave a comment or whatever to bring you down.
You're sitting behind your phone, watching my content, typing it out.
Right? Yeah. So for me, I'm actually flattered that they would take the time out of their day to leave that comment and give me engagement, because what you're doing is you're literally just giving me more views, which I'm like, I'm not complaining about that. If even if it's the rudest comment in the world, I'm like, you're still engaging with my content, which is going to boost it in the long run. So who cares? I know you are, as a person, probably the person who left that comment is fighting their internal demons, and they saw something I did and they were jealous in terms of maybe he speaks so confidently, or he's very enthusiastic, and he's just, I'm like, you know what, that's your problem. I don't care if you don't like the way it's
triggered.
Yeah, trigger warning. But yeah, I don't care if you don't like the content we produce. Like, that's okay, go watch something else.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to the show this week. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can write to us at embodimentpod@gmail.com. And if you want to send us a DM, it's at embodiment.pod.
Or if you'd like to follow us or message us personally on Instagram, it's at Emmanuel Series and at Ashley.fry. I'm Ashley.
And I'm Mano.
And you've been listening to Embodiment, who you are behind closed doors. Thank you guys. Have a beautiful day, babies. And I am so grateful for you.